here from CubenSquare. So today I was discussing with one of my student who is working as a OpenShift engineer in an MNC in Chennai. So we are discussing about the day-to-day activities, what she's doing, and then her skill roadmap, how she can elevate herself to the next role and all these things. So as we are discussing on the day-to-day activities, I thought of sharing what she has been doing as an OpenShift engineer, which will help the resources who are looking for job opportunities, the resources who are looking to switch their job role from infrastructure perspective to OpenShift engineer. So to start with, I've just categorized what she has been doing. So she's working on the Jira tickets for deployments in lower and higher regions, updating the release tag across the regions, setting up a microservice API, opening a security group request for RDS DB connections, adding service mesh entry for external traffic, submitting a POR for firewall rules. POR in the sense port opening request. See, the way they have set up the team is they have multiple teams with different levels, L1, L2, L3, and for deployment there is a separate team. For engineering there is a separate team. Just for opening the Jenkins and clicking on build, they have a separate team. So like this, as the teams are different, even to open a firewall request, they have to submit the ticket. The ticket has to be approved, and only after opening that particular ticket, they can proceed with the deployment so that the traffic is opened. Then troubleshooting deployments in PaaS, managing secrets with HashiCorp Vault, then finally using the Red Hat Fuse to add the service entry and service mesh or virtual service entries. These are the major categories what she has been working for the past 2 years. So to break down further on these categories, let's say when it comes to Jira. See, one of the common activities as a DevOps engineer or a OpenShift engineer is handling Jira tickets. On a daily basis, you need to attend the Scrum call. The Scrum calls will have the participations from the Scrum Masters, the product owner, developer, testing team, DevOps engineers, OpenShift engineers, the architect and others. So the tickets, the user stories are getting assigned either by the developers or you create the tickets, you create the backlogs and start working on it. You'll have multiple environments like, when I say lower region, it starts with the development to testing to staging and then production. Production with the higher region. So for them, the developers raise a user story to deploy a new version of authentication service. They trigger the deployment pipeline. When I say deployment pipeline, they use different tools like Jenkins, GitLab CI, then Argo CD to manage these automated deployments. So this, whenever they trigger the pipeline, this will take the artifact, that is the container image from the registry and applies the configurations like environment variables, secrets, and deploy the service in the designated environment. Either can be development, staging, or production. And to have this isolated environment, they have also created the namespace and projects for different regions as well. Then when it comes to updating the release tags, see when I say release tag, which is nothing but the image versions like version 1.0.0.1, 1.0.2 across all the regions, right? So image tagging is one of the major things. So whenever the tickets are being raised, that come up with the image version as well, or even the branch details so that they can go out and deploy it. They ensure that the deployment.yaml points to the right version, whatever is being requested. They follow the rolling update strategy. See, using rolling update strategy in Kubernetes or OpenShift, the main concept is you can deploy without the downtime. That is a zero downtime. Right? Either use rolling update or blue-green deployment or a canary deployment, all these things. And one of the most interesting tasks is setting up the brand new microservice API. So she was excited to tell that because more than just deploying the code, it's about for this particular request, they are responsible for configuring the environment, networking, monitoring the new service as well. Right, so whenever there is a new request coming in to set up a new microservice API, they define the deployment service for internal communication. They use ingress resource to expose it to external traffic. And if the service needs a database connection, then they configure the secret as well. Because the secret as an object is responsible for storing the sensitive informations, like can be a registry, yeah, registry passwords or SSH keys as well. And if it is a non-sensitive informations or configurations, they use config map. They use service discovery for communication within the cluster. They set up the service resource in Kubernetes that can manage the internal DNS-based discovery. Then when it comes to opening a security group request for DB connections, that is to connect a RDS database, they submit a SG request to open the traffic on port numbers. Like for an example, with respect to PostgreSQL, they request for 5432. So once it is approved and once it is open, then they proceed with the connection to the databases. This involves VPC networking and security group as well. Then coming to adding a service mesh entry, let's say they wanted to connect to an on-prem database. So she defines the virtual servers in Istio to route the traffic securely through the service mesh so that it allows the traffic from external database and the security controls like encryption and access control also being maintained. And with respect to service mesh, they use Istio for managing the service to service communications. Then they also work on the traffic policies, which enforces the MTLS and controls how the traffic flows between the services. Then she is involved in submitting a POR, that is port opening request, to ensure that the traffic flows smoothly through the firewall. So you wanted to connect to the on-prem database, okay, you just go and submit the firewall request. So, and then you go and test the traffic connectivity, right? So that the external traffic can pass through securely. Troubleshooting deployment path. So they have the Slack, and through the Slack they get all sort of alerts. Mainly when it comes to pod lifecycle, we have image pull back off, crash loop back off, pending, evicted, terminated, error, and all these error. Then out of memory exceptions. So let's say image pull back off or crash loop back off. Image pull back off normally occurs whenever you have incorrect image tags, authentication issues with private registries, network issues which is preventing to pull your image from the registry. So whenever you face such issues, you just go and describe your pod or check the logs and try to understand what the problem is and start solving that. And even though you have self-healing capabilities within Kubernetes, you will have such errors as well now and then. Then with respect to secrets, they are using HashiCorp Vault. So the database passwords, they store it in the vault and configure the service to access it securely. So they inject these secrets into the pod as an environment variable. Finally, with respect to Red Hat Fuse. So what is Red Hat Fuse? It is to integrate services and manage traffic flows in a hybrid integration platform. So this enables the communication between the services. Using Fuse, she configures an external database as a service entry in the service mesh. And she also defines a virtual service to route the traffic properly to the correct service, so that whenever there is an external communication comes in, that is being routed properly. So these are the major categories of work she has been handling in the past 2 years as an OpenShift engineer. So now she is trying to upskill herself and get certified in Red Hat OpenShift, so that she is planning to switch to a different country or different company.